So the Maharashtra Game of Thrones is arguably the most complicated battleground state in the Lok Sabha elections of 2024. Which way could the political winds blow, and which of these factions can potentially have how much support on polling day? Let me try and give you a sense. So we've worked with the India Today Data Intelligence Unit to try and draw out two different scenarios about how the vote share figures for Maharashtra could pan out in this election. I'll show you the baseline vote share figures to begin with, so that you have some sense of where these parties start out from. So the BJP in the last couple of elections has a vote share around 28%. So in the high 20s, that's the BJP's own starting vote share. 3 out of 10 voters typically tend to vote for the BJP in a Lok Sabha election. The Congress's vote share, which used to be in the early 20s earlier, is now somewhere around 16%. The Congress hasn't split much. To some extent, the likes of Ashok Chavan have gone, but the Congress, unlike the NCP and the Shiv Sena, is largely intact at about 16% vote share from the last election. What they get this time is different, but they stand at the starting base at 16%. The NCP, when it was unified, had a 16% vote share. The Shiv Sena had a 24% vote share. The AIMIM had about a 1% vote share. So those are the figures when things hadn't fragmented in Maharashtra politics. From there on, if I look at the seat share numbers from the last elections, the BJP had 23 seats, the Shiv Sena had 18, the NCP 4, the Congress 1. You know, this is really a Congress-NCP stronghold in past elections. Now the Congress at 1, the NCP at 4, the Shiv Sena united at 18, and the BJP at 23. Now we'll map out two scenarios. So the NCP and the Shiv Sena both broke up, and if both the Ajit Pawar faction of the NCP and the Shinde faction of the Shiv Sena enjoy equal support from their starting points, then what happens? So if you just do a simple arithmetic, the NDA starting point then is 51.3, 35.6 in the last elections as per actuals if you rearrange. The moment Uddhav Thackeray leaves the NDA, then the NDA goes down by 17.6%, the India Alliance goes up by 17.6%. Then the moment Shinde leaves the MVA, then the BJP goes up by 8.8%, the India Alliance comes down by 8.8%, because the party of Uddhav Thackeray split, leading to this change. Then when Ajit Pawar leaves the MVA, the NDA goes up by 5.9% and the India Alliance comes down by 5.9%. So if Ajit Pawar and Eknath Shinde have roughly the same kind of support as Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar, then the vote share percentages stack like this in the Lok Sabha elections: 48.4 for the NDA, 38.5 for the India Alliance. So a pretty comfortable lead of about 10 points for the NDA over the India Alliance. This is if both these factions, the Shinde faction and the Ajit Pawar faction, have equal support as the legacy parties. However, if there is support, and that's where this conversation gets so interesting, because there's a lot of talk of latent sympathy among supporters. If that is the case, then how could things be? So the calculation here is, if the Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray Sena gets 2/3 of the support of the Shiv Sena and the NCP of Sharad Pawar gets 1/3 of the support, then what could the numbers look like? Then it's 43.4 for the NDA versus 43.5 for the India Alliance. Then it becomes far, far tighter if it emerges that Uddhav Thackeray has a lot of sympathy and support, and Sharad Pawar also has a lot of support. So Rajdeep, this is really what it comes down to. And nobody really knows. Will votes get equally divided from the old Sena and the old NCP? Or will the old guard have the support and sympathy? Or will the new guard carry the day?
It's fascinating. Because you don't have a benchmark to measure these numbers against, simply because all these factions are broken apart. NCP is broken apart, Shiv Sena is broken apart. You're assuming 2/3 will go with one side, 1/3 will go with the other. The fact is, Rahul, politics is not just about arithmetic, it's about chemistry. And I think the critical question is, will, for example, a BJP voter in Western Maharashtra, who has always stood up to the NCP, now be ready to vote for an Ajit Pawar? Would, for example, a Shiv Sena voter, who has always been a Hindutvavadi, be ready to vote for a Congress candidate in his constituency. I think that is critical, the transfer of votes to a candidate who's contesting from a different party. That's why Maharashtra is so unpredictable. How do you predict what feeling that Hindutvavadi voter has, who may well feel that I've been betrayed with the Shiv Sena joining this MVA, I don't want to necessarily vote for a Congress candidate. Or the BJP, who has been standing up to the Pawars, now says, I don't want to vote for an Ajit Pawar or any NCP faction. I think that's going to be critical, which is why seat sharing has been so difficult. Because in every seat, the calculation has to be made. Who will transfer whose vote to whom? I'll give you the example of Mumbai Northwest, which has become so controversial because Sanjay Nirupam has just quit the party. He was the candidate last time round. He got about 3 lakh votes, but he lost by an equally large margin to a Shiv Sena candidate. But the Shiv Sena that time was in alliance with the BJP. Now what's happened there? The Shiv Sena UBT, Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray, has put up a candidate, ironically the son of the previous MP who has now joined the Shiv Sena. Now that's getting confusing. He's a new candidate. The question therefore is, who does the BJP put up there? Do they give that seat to a Shinde Sena candidate and fight the Marathi vote bank in a way? Or do you give the seat to a North Indian like a Sanjay Nirupam and hope that he can bring in the North Indian vote? You see, these calculations are going on, Rahul, in seat by seat. I'll give you one more final example. There's a seat, fascinating seat of Baramati, where the battle is Supriya Sule on one side versus Sunetra Pawar on the other, as they call it, Tai versus Vahini in Marathi. But there, you've got one of the constituencies there called Indapur, which was a Congress bastion. The Congress leader there was being targeted by the NCP. He leaves the Congress, joins the BJP. Guess what? Ajit Pawar joins hands with the BJP. Now, does he go ahead and support Sunetra Pawar, given his animus Harshvardhan Patil, I'm referring to Ajit Pawar's wife? These are the calculations seat by seat in Maharashtra. I don't think it's happening anywhere else in the country, Rahul, because in other parts of the country, there's a relative clarity. It's either bipolar or existing parties. But when 2 major regional parties have broken apart, Maharashtra, Rahul, to me, looks like a mirror cracked. And it's difficult to know which way, who will actually pick up the shards of glass that are broken.
You know, the one example that comes to my mind is when in Delhi, the Aam Aadmi Party was just emerging on the scene. Nobody, from a polling perspective, had any actual calculation of where they'll end up. People thought 6, 8, 9 seats. They ended up at 35 or so in the first election. And
no, true, but Rahul, even in Delhi, you know, the fact is there you had a new player.
Yeah.
Here you have existing players.
But you don't know who's strong. Is Sharad Pawar stronger? Is Ajit Pawar stronger?
You see,
is Uddhav Thackeray stronger? Is Eknath Shinde stronger?
That's right. And when you said 2/3, 1/3, for example, 2/3 of Uddhav Thackeray, if they go one way, or 1/3
no,
of Sharad.
2/3 of Uddhav Thackeray and 2/3 of Sharad Pawar.
That's right. But the point is, even if they want to support, let's say, Sharad Pawar, if in their constituency, at that moment, there's a Shiv Sena candidate, or there's a Congress candidate, would they be as willing, particularly a Shiv Sena? NCP and Congress at least have been united in the past, fought elections together. Shiv Sena and BJP have fought elections together. But what if there is a Congress candidate there? Then where does the Shiv Sena voter go? So I think these are the calculations that will decide what will be, I think, one of the most tightly contested elections, not just Lok Sabha, but even more chaotic in Vidhan Sabha, because the moment I don't get a ticket, I become an independent. What's happening in Maharashtra? I don't get a ticket from the party that I had fought with or was part of. I say, okay, I'll find another party which is willing to give me a ticket. That's happening across the state at the moment.